Why wait to see if you'll get something you like this Valentine's Day when you can go to BlueNile.com and find something you'll love? Whether you're looking to treat yourself to a little winter sparkle or show a galentine how much you appreciate them, Blue Nile offers a wide selection of high-quality designs, expert guidance, and free 30-day returns for the ultimate peace of mind. You can even design your own jewelry. Right now, save up to 50% at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Welcome back, Ram fans. This is Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are proud members of the Fans First Sports Network. That's fansfirstsports.com. You can also follow us on YouTube. Our channel is at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. You'll hear from my co-host, Tom, on occasion as well. Hey, we're not Rams insiders. We're just longtime fans who love talking about our Los Angeles Rams. Let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 353 of Rams Up. We're going to get to the second half of my conversation with Scott Richmond, talking all things Rams. That's coming up here in a second. Got to talk about these Sunday playoff games a little bit. We're going to get into the conference championship games really deep later in the week. But first, episode 353, I wanted to talk about a Ram who wore number 53, and that would be Jim Youngblood, drafted by the Rams in the second round of the 1973 draft out of Tennessee Tech, of all places. 2 years after the Rams drafted Jack Youngblood, no relation. A lot of people had a hard time understanding that, just assumed they were brothers or cousins or something, but they were not. Jim Youngblood, a 6'3", 235-pound linebacker, played 12 years for the Rams, a cornerstone of some great Rams defenses. That linebacker core, at one time, Jack Reynolds, Jim Youngblood, Isaiah Robertson, and Bob Brudzinski. Pretty darn good group. Jim Youngblood, number 53. So we talked a little bit about the Packers and 49ers, and then the Lions beat the Bucks. So we get Jared Goff and Josh Reynolds versus the 49ers. Niners open up as 6.5-point favorites. Going to be about the Lions defense putting up some measurable resistance, I think, against a really good 49ers offense. It struggled a little bit against the Packers. And the Lions are going to have to finish drives against a really good 49er defense. And can the 49ers rattle Jared Goff? Really good Lions offensive line, so that'll be a big test. Can the Niners pass rush get to Jared Goff? Still not impressed with Brock Purdy. He really didn't do anything remarkable in that game. Actually made a lot of bad throws. And then there's that 49ers kicking game. So definitely would love to see the Lions advance. Not sure if I want the Lions to win a Super Bowl. I'll know how I feel about that when that game kicks off, assuming the Lions get there. In that 49er Packer game, just one thing needed to go the Packers' way, and they probably win that game. That dropped interception might have been 6 points. Note that I didn't say 7 because, man, kickers have been ruining games all year long, haven't they? They couldn't convert a 4th and 1 and had trouble in the red zone, much like the Rams have. Really cost the Packers. And the Chiefs, man, what did we learn? Never count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes when the playoffs roll around. This team has not been impressive all year long. Bills kind of handed that one away. I didn't watch the entirety of that game, but it sounds like the Bills really had plenty of opportunities to win that game and maybe choked a little bit. So we get the Chiefs and the Ravens in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. Got to give the edge to the Ravens, but like I said, don't count out Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So former Rams pressing on, Jared Goff, Josh Reynolds, and Jake McQuaid still surviving. OBJ with the Ravens. I forgot to mention him last week. Dunn, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, Taylor Rapp, and David Edwards. You know, Edwards is manning, I think, the left guard position for the Bills early in that game. And then later on, I didn't see him, so I'm not sure what happened there. Leonard Floyd, invisible, or did he even play? I'm not sure. Von Miller had, I think, one tackle. So Lions at the 49ers, Chiefs at the Ravens. Go Lions for this week anyways. And I think I'm pulling for the Ravens because they are the team that will give the 49ers the biggest test should the 49ers advance. Ideal situation, Jared Goff to Josh Reynolds for the game winner against the 49ers. And then the Ravens trounce the Lions in the Super Bowl. Hey, let's get to the second half of that discussion with Scott Richmond coming up here right now. The first question I would have is, okay, so typically the Rams, when they're making a push, when they feel like they're going to be competitive and are in the Super Bowl conversation, it's pretty clear what they do. They'll take their first round pick and they'll trade it for an established talent. Typically they don't necessarily do that before the draft unless it's someone like Stafford. But then last year they did the opposite. They just, amassed 14 picks and, took the shotgun approach, hit on like 9 of them. And it was, it probably ensured that this franchise is going to be competitive for a couple years. Now this year, coming into this draft, they got the 19th pick. What do you think their strategy is going to be? It could depend on, as Lesnita's already said, actually, when you get to that 19th pick and who's available, do you move back or do you make the pick? In general, do you think what do you think the Rams strategy is going to be? Adding as many picks as possible like last year, or going for quality over quantity and trying to move up in the draft or even trade picks for established players?
I think this year it probably might be lean more to the quality side because they filled so many holes with last year's draft. There's not going to be as many roster spots available. So drafting 10 or 11 players again this season is just going to be, most of them are going to go to the practice squad and they might get plucked by another team. So I don't know. I tend to feel running some mock drafts myself the past couple of weeks. I'm thinking I'm falling in love with 2 or 3 players, and they're probably are available at the end of the first round and maybe at the top of the second round. So I'm probably leaning towards trading down and acquiring another second or third. And then after I take that first pick, trading back up again and trying to get up into the top of the second round. So
maybe you end up with 6 or 7 picks, but you have a late first and maybe a couple of seconds, something like that.
Yeah. Right. Trying to keep most of those picks, trying to get 3 or 4 picks in the top 100 and then another 3 or 4 picks in the 5th and 6th rounds, to fill in. So that's what I'm looking for.
Now, without giving me names yet, because we'll get to that next. I don't want to cover too many topics at once, but what would be the 3 positions that you would target at the top of the draft?
That's a great question. So many Ram fans think defensive back is going to be a very high priority, and they think a first-round pick should be used. And I'm telling people, it's like, no, the cornerback class is deep. You can get some starting quality cornerbacks later. You can't get an offensive tackle, and you can't get an edge rusher later in the draft. You have to get them. You have to get them at the top because that's where the quality is, that you can bring somebody in and actually can contribute year one. So those are the 2 positions I'm looking at. I'm looking at offensive tackle and edge rusher. Can be safety, cornerback, linebacker. You can get good ones 4th, 5th round, maybe 6th round.
I was leaning towards a couple of positions you mentioned, but I haven't done the deep dive into the who was available, what type of talent you can get in the 2nd or 3rd round yet. So without knowing that, I'll throw a couple of names out here, and I think you already answered one of them for me, that you're probably not going to want this gentleman in the 1st round because he's a cornerback. I've seen him mocked to the Rams a couple of times. That's the cornerback out of Iowa, Cooper DeJean. Do you have an opinion on him? I guess, well, you already said you're not taking a cornerback in the 1st round then.
As much as I like Cooper DeJean, no, I probably wouldn't. I would pass, I think, in any other year, possibly. But
yeah, I thought the Rams would take 2 cornerbacks early last year, And I was dead wrong on that. They waited till Trey Tomlinson in the 6th or 7th round, whenever it was.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, right. What about now? You said you like edge, and just going by the potential where my guys might get drafted right now, today, this morning, as we're talking, the edge rusher out of Florida State, Jared Verse. How do you feel about him?
My thought process is he. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if he's not your guy, I think there's an edge rusher you do like, so you can just share with us who you do like. If it's not Verse.
I'll just give my opinion on Verse really quick. I think he's great, but I think he's more of a power rusher. He's more of a stout outside linebacker for what the Rams would use him for. And I kind of think that kind of goes in line to kind of more or less what they already had with Michael Hoyt playing the position. Even though Jared Verse would be an improvement on that, I think they need to go back to the smaller outside linebacker, the one who has great quickness and speed, who, if he's not rushing the quarterback, he can get back out and cover the flat. Try to prevent what happened in the Rams-Lions game with Hoyt getting matched up on Sam Laporta, who burned him for a touchdown in the playoff game. So I'm kind of leaning, as good as Jared Verse is, I'm going to go with a different one. I think Chris Braswell from Alabama would be perfect. He plays opposite of Dallas Turner, who gets most of the attention. But Braswell he's about the same size, has the same speed. He's very technically sound, has a lot of tricks in his bag for pass rush moves. I like that he has the bend in the hips in order to bend and get around the tackles, where some guys don't have that as much. Like a Verse we were talking about, he's really not going to bend around a tackle. He's going to get through him with power or counter moves.
So I see Braswell, I just checked, 6'3", 255-ish, and maybe late second, early third round?
I think after the Senior Bowl or the bowl appearances that he's going to get, I think he's going to be looked at top 40.
Fair enough. I'm just going by these current CBS prospect rankings, which it's early. Now, you didn't mention wide receivers. If we retain Demarcus Robinson, which could be difficult, there could be a market for him. You got Tutu, Puka, and Cooper Kupp. Would you spend a first or second round pick on a wide receiver? And the reason I bring that up, the one I've been kind of looking at a little bit is, again, another Florida State guy, Keon Coleman.
I haven't watched any tape of him yet, but from what I read of other evaluators, I don't think he really fits what the Rams are looking for. Maybe size-wise, but tends to be I think he's a larger wide receiver. He's good at the contested catches he would be good at. A little bit slower feet, doesn't separate as well as some of the other receivers in the draft.
You would target an offensive tackle potentially in the first round, or if you move back into the second. Is there anybody you had in mind?
For where we're drafting and where we could possibly get him would be Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. I think he got the experience. He's both equally talented at run blocking and pass blocking. He can play the left side. He could probably give the responsibility they gave to Steve Avila as a rookie. I think they could do the same thing with him, give him reps at left tackle and let him earn the spot. I think it would allow us to move Alaric Jackson back to a swing tackle, and then we could let Joe Noteboom go, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, I see Jordan Morgan. CBS Sports has him as the 45th ranked overall prospect, so would probably certainly be there in the first round, or you could trade back and still get him. Now, you mentioned Joseph Noteboom. Now, this is the one thing I feel that we hopefully learned from the 2022 season is everybody thinks you need 5 offensive linemen. You really need like 8, right? You need 8 guys that you can count on stepping in and performing. And after that horrible 2022 season and all the injuries, we're pretty lucky this year, but still having guys like, Brian Allen, and I know obviously you're not a big fan of Joseph Noteboom, maybe even Tremaine Ankrum. You have guys that can step in, and if you lose a guy or two, the machine still continues humming along and working. I'd rather they kept some of these guys around, even if they're not starters, even if you got to pay them a little bit of money. But you're opposed to retaining Joseph Noteboom. He's still under contract, right?
Yeah, it's not the player I don't like; it's the contract I don't like. With the way they structured his contract this season, he's due for $20 million. It's amazing.
Oh, is it that much?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
What's the cap hit if you move on from him, though, even by trade or releasing?
The benefit is there's two options. You can do a pre-June 1st cut, and there would be more dead money involved. I was just looking for my
But
notes.
if you wait till after June 1st, the dead money just falls on the following year instead, right? I believe
Correct.
that's how it works. And maybe they have a little bit of breathing room, so they could do that if they wanted to.
Yeah. So if you look at Noteboom, his cap number is 20 million. If you cut him, let's say around the time of the draft, you'd only save 5 million and have 15 in dead money. But if you cut him post June 1st designation, you'd save 15 million on the cap and only have 5 million of dead money. So between Noteboom and Allen, if you cut them both at the same time, you would put 22 million back in your salary cap.
So if I'm reading your thought process here, move on from Joseph Noteboom at some point, pre or post June 1st, draft a left tackle. I don't think there's really a lot of options in free agency. And then Alaric Jackson takes over that swing role. Is that what you're saying?
That's the idea I'm proposing. Yes, I like that idea.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, you still have Brian Allen, and there's a couple of guys. I don't know what's going on with Logan Bress. We may never know, but maybe his career will bounce back next year. I don't think he was healthy at the beginning of this past season, 100%. So there's maybe some hope there. Who knows? But
He'll get another chance.
Okay, yeah, he certainly will, and he should. Let's see. So, are there any other draft prospects I'm sure there's some other draft prospects you'd love to talk about.
I was kind of disappointed with when we talk about pass rush. I'm very keen on the interior pass rush because the way teams have schemed around outside pass rushers, where they get rid of the ball quick before the outside edge rushers can get to the quarterback. The way you can really pressure is right up the middle, like via Aaron Donald, getting straight up the field. And
Kobe Turner a little bit.
Kobe Turner. But even though Kobe Turner had a great season, I think the play from the nose tackle position wasn't that great, with Bobby Brown manning it most of the time. He was pretty good against the run, but I thought we had better success with the smaller player, Greg Gaines. I thought he got after the quarterback quite consistently for as small of his stature. He did pretty well getting after the quarterback.
Yeah, I made the comment half in jest. I don't think my roundtable partners, I don't think they were on board with me, let's put it that way. But I said, hey, man, we could bring back Sean Robinson and Greg Gaines and bring the gang back together. And again, I'm half in jest, but I could see them bringing one of those guys back. And, they both signed 1-year deals to go elsewhere. And I always thought, who knows what's going on behind closed doors, but I could see Sean McVay and Raheem Morris having conversations with these guys and say, you know what, dudes, we can't do it this year. We're sorry. You're going to have to go get your money. But hey, do it for 1 year and come on back. I wonder if those conversations occurred.
I was thinking the same thing this morning. Maybe it's just maybe they just told him to go. Greg, don't sell your house here in California.
Yeah, and he's a West Coast guy. Greg Gaines is, from Southern California and played.
He's the one who went to my high school in La Habra.
Yeah. So hey, he was a good fit for this defense, and you could
Mhm.
tell that him and Aaron Donald, when they were together out there, they got it done. And he had a big game last week too, against the Eagles, and we'll see him again tomorrow. Or by
Mhm.
the time you hear this, it could be today or yesterday. So is there someone in the draft that you like that could fill that role?
Yeah, I really like Devondre Sweat from Texas. He's a mountain of a man. He's what 6'4", 365, I believe.
I think I saw him. He stood out again in the game against Washington, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
he's just a monster. He's equally good against, again against the run. It takes two offensive linemen to move him, and a lot of times when he gets double teamed, he's not phased by it. So he's very good at stopping the run, but he's very tenacious as a pass rusher too. I mean, he can, if he ends up getting single blocked by the center's losing 98% of the time. So
Where does he? Let me check my list here. I'm wondering where he's expected to go.
in that mid-second round area, I would presume.
So another target if maybe they move back, and have a couple of second round picks.
Yeah, he's the type of player that if we could trade down and gain an extra second or third pick, that after they get that offensive tackle and edge rusher, trade back up again and try to get him, because I think with the two quicker players in Donald and
Kobe Turner, right?
yeah, I think that would be an awesome 3-4 front, and two outside linebackers that can also rush and cover, along with Byron Young. And if we were to get a Chris Braswell, boy, I think that'd be an awesome front five, in my easily doable too, I think.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens with free agency. That'll tell
Mhm.
us a lot. But I mean, the Rams have a lot of money to spend for the first time in a while. So it's going to be really interesting, very telling how they spend their money.
Can we talk about that dollar amount?
Sure.
As there were some people on social media that were thinking, oh, Rams are going to have 50-60 million dollars. It's like, no, let's be specific. It's at 44 million, I believe. All right, 42 to 44 million. They're going to have to sign their rookie class. Right now they have
Right.
10 picks again, so the NFL is going to make them hold 10 million in reserve to sign that class. So 44 minus 10 is 34 million. You're going to have to sign those expiring contract players we've already talked about, like Dotson, Coleman, Shelton, Demarcus Robinson, Alaric Jackson, maybe either John Johnson or Jordan Fuller. I think you have to sign one of those two. And by the time you sign those guys, I mean, you may only have 20 million, 22 million left, maybe. And so you're only going to be able to have one big splash signing, maybe two. But that's where I think, getting rid of the contracts of Joe Noteboom and the other center, Brian Allen, I think that would kick them back up to the 35 million base, which would really allow them to make two or three splash signings and really get some experienced, better players.
I wonder if either of them have trade potential, maybe not with their contracts, but I think Brian Allen, especially, have proven they can play at a certain level in this league. I think the problem with Brian Allen, and I defer to some of my partners on this podcast who understand this a lot better than I do. I don't think he fit this new running attack, the new philosophy as far as running the ball. I don't think he fitted
Mm-hmm.
as well as Coleman Shelton. I think that was the problem.
Oh, I agree. When they last draft, I think Les and Sean McVay said it easily when they drafted Vila. Traded for Dotson. They also drafted the kid from Georgia. I'm trying to remember his name. He's a shorter tackle,
Warren
6'4".
Warren Warren McClendon. Warren
McClendon, yeah.
McClendon.
They
Yeah.
just sat there with smiles, and he goes, we watched people. I think they used the Saints as an example, how Drew Brees could always just drop back, and there was never any interior pass rush because those front three were just a brick wall. And they knew with Vila putting somebody bigger at center, and Dotson, and maybe even, I think the talk was the McClendon, that there was talk that he could play center. And they said if they could have those three in the middle, they would have a wall for Stafford to
Do you think McClendon has future starting potential?
It's hard to say. He's one of those players that's just a little bit shorter than usual. So, maybe he gets some reps at center. But I think what I saw in preseason, he's good enough to be a swing tackle. I'm confident with him stepping in as a right or
Oh,
left
okay. Yeah,
tackle.
we kind of forget about guys like that sometimes, I
Yeah.
think he got into some games, a couple of games late, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I was going to just finish off that thought talking about Brian Allen that, since they don't use that wide zone running scheme anymore, and they want to really protect against interior pass rush right up the middle, Brian Allen just really isn't in the mix anymore. He's got that shorter
Yeah.
build. And so I just don't think for the value for his salary cap number being closer to 7 million, I just don't think that's too much for a backup at this point.
But I'd still say, we just need to find a way to have 8 reliable offensive linemen. And I think in 2022, I mean, we went through 13 or 14 offensive linemen, so that was quite the debacle. But I still don't think we had maybe 6 offensive linemen that could get the job done, and we needed twice that in that particular year. Hey, so what are we going to do about our kicker?
What about a kicker? I think we draft the kid out of Stanford in the 7th round.
Okay, a lot of people say, never draft a kicker. And, I think the 49ers got a little bit silly last year, spending a third round pick on a kicker, but I have no problem if you can find now the Sam Sloman pick a few years back did not work out. I don't know what happened to the scout that recommended him, but I have no problem using a 6th or 7th round pick on a kicker as long as it's a kicker that can get the job done, reliable. And that's probably the reason why, regardless of what happened in Detroit, if we had gotten out of that game, I don't know how we're going to win a Super Bowl when we don't have a kicker we can rely on outside of 32 yards. It's pretty tough to win it all in that situation. Okay, we've got a lot in here. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up? Any players, draft picks, free agents?
I think maybe talking about the defensive coordinator position.
A potential replacement, or
Yeah, because Raheem's got 3 or 4. He's already finished up 3 or 4 interviews this week. So if he gets hired, the Rams are going to be hiring a new defensive coordinator. And one of the benefits, they're going to receive a compensatory third round pick this year and next year. That's definitely going to help the draft process. But I got started thinking about replacements. I would like to see them go the way of the collegiate ranks. There's a couple of guys that I happen to like. There's a guy from Missouri, Blake Baker. He came in within the last season and took their defense from 113th nationally to 55th in scoring defense. Really did a turnaround there. Tony Gibson at NC State in 2 seasons finished with the 11th and 14th ranked scoring defense in the nation.
Wow.
And they really don't get the pick of the litter as far as kids coming out of high school. So he's doing that with some 3-star and 4-star players. He doesn't have any 5 stars on that defense. Utah might be my favorite. Morgan Scalley. Utah's just been consistently good the last 6 seasons. They've finished second, third, first, second, third nationally in scoring defense the last 6 years. So
every time I've watched the Utes play USC or just about anybody, and really their defense is just flying all over the place, big hitters, just one of those defenses you hate to play against.
Yeah, so I hope they can kind of go outside of the box. I'm sure there are some of the NFL coordinators. From this vantage point right now, it's easier to look at what some of the defensive coordinators in the collegiate ranks have done and say, well, a trip to the pros should be a step up, a nice.
Okay, I'm going to throw a name that is probably going to spin your head a little bit. Mm-hmm. Is Brandon Staley's NFL coaching career over?
I don't think it's over. I think he's going to get another opportunity. I just don't think he's as good as what people said he would, especially the average knowledge fans that would see what he did in one season, and then they see
Right.
the off coverage from Raheem Morris and complain about Morris and say they want Staley back. And I say, well, what happened to Staley's defense when he went to the Chargers? I mean, they had as good or probably better roster of players.
I'm not going to chime in because I don't know. I can't comment on that much on his input to the Rams defense that one year he was their DC, or what he's done with the Chargers. My gut feeling is that his resume really took a hit as a head coach. Did he get promoted to his level of incompetence? Could he still get it done as a defensive coordinator? I don't know. It's going to be tough for him to regain his street cred at the NFL level. I think he's going to have to find the right position, the right spot. Hopefully it works out for him, but that was a pretty ugly final year with the Chargers on the field, and the press conferences, some of them went really sideways. So it wasn't a good year for Brandon Staley, unfortunately.
Right.
Okay. I think we had a good discussion here. Anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, I think that's it for now. I think I've bent your ear quite long enough this morning.
We're going to come back over the next couple months, and I'm going to do some episodes, and maybe I'll have you back for a couple of them, just talking wide receivers in the draft, just talking linebackers and so on. Maybe pick 2 positions an episode, that type of thing. And so I'd love to have you back on for that. We'll give you and me, both of us, time to do a little bit of homework between now and then, maybe.
Look forward to that.
Okay, Scott, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks a lot, and let's do it again real soon.
Great. Thanks for having me, Mark. Talk to you soon.
Sure. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.